In this short series of videos we've looked at a simple but often overlooked process to plan for success, which we can use to plan for 2015 to be our best year in property ever. Because the simple truth is that unless we start to plan for success in 2015 now, the chances are that most of us will have yet another mediocre year at best. But it doesn't have to be that way if we just follow the simple 5-step process. And just as a reminder, here's the process for achieving success in property. It's deciding on what we really want, setting goals to achieve what we really want, making a plan to achieve those goals, taking action on the plan, and then regularly reviewing our progress and tweaking the plan as necessary. And so far in this video series we've looked at the first two, which is deciding what we really want and setting our goals to achieve what we really want. In this final video of the series we're going to look at the last 3 steps of the process, which is making a plan, taking action and reviewing progress. And we're going to look at how I can help you to use this simple 5-step process so that you can plan for 2015 to be your best year in property ever. So when we set our goals, the next step in the process is to make a plan to achieve our goals. And prior planning might sound like an obvious step, but again, it's surprising how many investors just jump straight in and start buying property without clearly thinking it through, and without even a basic plan. Very often it's a case almost of any old property will do. So it's not surprising that many of those who I meet at a later date often regret that their first few purchases are not the right properties. And it's true that property is very tolerant, and this might not be a terminal mistake, but it can seriously impact on the overall return from a portfolio and greatly increase the amount of time that it takes an investor to achieve their goals. It can also produce sleepless nights and unnecessary stress. Even a cheap property is relatively expensive, and so before we start spending our money we owe it to ourselves to carefully plan so it's spent as efficiently and effectively as possible. Often the problem is that an investor doesn't have the experience or knowledge to know exactly what they should be taking into account in making their plan. After all, we don't know what we don't know. And I fully understand that being confronted with a blank piece of paper, or more likely nowadays a blank Word document, can be very daunting when we sit down to write our plan. So where do we start? There are so many different ways we can use property, so many different types of properties, so many locations in which we can invest, and numerous strategies and techniques for investing in property, and I can't cover all of that now. The trouble is there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to property investing. Every plan will need to be individually drafted and tailored to each individual investor's aspirations, skill level, preferred strategy and location, not forgetting their financial situation, of course. But the most common problem I see, made by experienced and new investors alike, is not being able to express their financial goals as property goals. Doing so would enable them to plan to achieve their financial goals through property, but it's just one of those things which is really difficult to do, especially if you don't know what you can achieve through property. But I do have a solution for this, which I'll tell you about in a moment. Once through the step of producing a workable plan, the next stage is to take action on the plan, preferably vigorous and persistent action. Why vigorous? Vigorous because if we're targeting big goals and big changes in our lives, we need a level of action commensurate with that. Why persistent? Because the biggest problem is that despite our good intentions, this can all fizzle out to nothing frighteningly quickly, especially if we lack belief or get distracted or too busy in other areas of our lives. And that's why I said right at the beginning in my first video that ideally we should identify 4 or 5 super reasons why we want to succeed and why we want to make sure that 2015 is our best year in property ever. If they mean enough to us, these super reasons will keep us motivated and on track no matter how tough the going gets. And let's face it, it would be naive to assume that everything is going to be plain sailing. And that, of course, is another advantage of having a proper plan. If we need to pick ourselves up, if we're wondering how we're doing, we can refer back to our plan and make sure we're still on track. That's why the last step of the process is so important. Reviewing our progress and tweaking as necessary. Going slightly off track from time to time is probably inevitable. There are so many distractions and so many opportunities we can pursue once we recognise them. So we need to keep an eye on how we're doing on a regular basis, just to make sure that we're still heading wherever it is we want to be heading. So that's the system. But although I know the system is simple in principle, I know that it can be hard to follow. So how do we get around that? Great question, and one which I've given much thought to over the years. And that's why I've developed a unique, highly valuable tool to help you to set your property goals and to plan for and to attain their achievement, so that you can have your best year in property ever. Having spent years trying to work out the best way to set property goals and then plan for their achievement, and knowing the difficulties involved, I've put together what I consider to be a breakthrough tool, a customizable e-book template which takes you step by step through the whole process of property goal setting through to preparing a plan which will really work. And I've called it How to Have Your Best Year in Property Ever, and it does what it says on the tin. In it, I'll show you how to set your goals, how to frame them financially, and then, crucially, how to state them in terms of property, something many investors struggle with, how to choose the right strategy to achieve them, and then how to prepare and write a plan for their attainment which will really work. And because most of us would agree that life needs to be holistic and balanced, you can also use it to set and attain your non-property goals as well. And I've developed a couple of spreadsheets which I'll include with it, which will help you to undertake a full in-depth financial audit so that you can start by setting the right financial goals. So if you're serious about achieving property success in 2015 and genuinely want it to be your best year in property ever, I'd love to help you. So please click the link below this video so you can get full details and order your copy. And I've got a special offer for you. How to Have Your Best Year in Property Ever usually sells for £99.97. But as you're on my email list, which means that you've probably bought one of my ebooks before, I want to make it really easy for you to order and download your copy. So I'll even give you a £30 discount, meaning you'll only pay £69.97. But that's only if you order before New Year's Day. Why before New Year's Day? Because I want you to take action. I want you to take action now and to make sure that you do plan to make 2015 your best year in property ever. If you're going to make 2015 your best year in property ever, we need to start planning now. And of course, there's a full 30-day, no quibble, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, meaning you can order with full confidence and at no risk to yourself. Successful people know that the key to success is having clearly defined goals, adopting the right strategy, and having a detailed workable plan which they then take action on. And these are the steps I'll take you through in detail so that you can hit the ground running in 2015 and look forward to your best year in property ever, and not be resigned to yet another mediocre year where all of our hopes and dreams are long forgotten by the end of February. So please grab your copy of How to Have Your Best Year in Property Ever now, and let me help you through the step-by-step process which will allow you to achieve more than you ever thought possible. If you'd like me to talk you through how to set your property goals and then help you to put together a plan to achieve them, then please click the link below this video for full details and to order your copy of How to Have Your Best Year in Property Ever at the special discounted price. So here's to successful property investing and a wonderfully prosperous and exciting 2015.